this was a work of investigation for me in the true sense of all those sort of layers of meanings of the word reconnaissance. It was a detective story on a personal level and a historical level as well. I spent probably most of last year researching my father's story through bits of old photographs and reading the history of the Pacific War. I used water as the continuing leitmotif, the theme that linked the different elements of the story. That's a picture of my father in the little sailing boat, and on the back it says, last sail in Manana before he went to war the next day, and he sold it to the young man in the boat. And so this is how I pieced the story together, with little bits of photos from the family collection. But I had only ever met him a couple of times in my 20s, and he was still a pretty broken man, an alcoholic. And that's the reason I was never really given a story, because I grew up in that sort of post-war, well-off suburban Catholic environment, but you didn't talk about. It was a difficult story to uncover because as I grew up, there was an unspoken, like a black hole that everybody used to walk around, but nobody talked about. And my mum never spoke about it because she didn't want to say anything bad, but you know, you pick up all this stuff. And in going there, I discovered that, you know, it was really an incredibly both exhilarating and traumatic experience of young men. Probably he suffered from post-traumatic stress for the rest of his life. Never recovered, wasn't diagnosed till the 1980s, but never really acknowledged it. And so the work, in fact, is a witness and a recognition to him. I had a few things that came to me. The logbook, the original helmet. The photo there is the same helmet before he went to war. That's it, after war stuff. And a number of what were called escape maps printed on acetate brown or silk, which I thought they were navigational maps, so they're not. They're actually part of the escape kit. If you come down, you're likely to come down the sea if you're in a Catalina. So you have a rubber raft, a revolver, some biscuits, and the escape maps, which are actually they show the currents and the wind direction to give you some idea where you are when you're flying over enemy territory. Because if you come down the water, it's no good having a paper map. You've got to be able to scrunch it up and put it in your jacket. And the Australian ones were printed on silk on one side. They used to use them as scarves. It represents the actual formation of the islands, the main islands, and as well the civilians, because that's sort of the quintessential generic form of a hat for people in Asia at that time.